Well, once again, good morning, everybody, here on the Daybreak Show. Spencer and Jeff are talking now with the Shelton Fire Marshal in another Focus on Shelton presented by our great friends at our Community Credit Union. Mike Patti, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you this morning?
I am well, and it has been a wild weather week. The fires have gotten completely out of control all along the West Coast, from California to Washington. We're seeing some fires in our state and in our local area, and that has led to new restrictions. We saw it for the city of Shelton, and this morning as well, now adding to that the whole of Mason County. Tell us again about these.
Well, earlier this week when the wind and low humidity event, what we call red flag warnings, came into play on Monday, we started seeing grass fires and brush fires like we hadn't seen before here in Mason County. And we had a couple events. Initially, here a couple weeks ago, if I can back up, we put burn restrictions in place that restricted all outdoor burnings with the exceptions of charcoal and gas barbecues. We had a couple structure fires here locally that were started with charcoal barbecues, where the barbecues themselves were tipped over by the wind, and the charcoal briquettes lit grass on fire, which in turn caught the buildings on fire because everything is so dry. So after some consideration, I talked to some regional fire chiefs and petitioned our local and city officials to request that we further restrict charcoal barbecues, at least until this red flag warning is passed. Hopefully we can get through this, and hopefully tomorrow, Friday morning, we can look at it with the better weather, at least better fire weather, and we can look at it to at least allow the charcoal barbecues to come back. But for the last week and right now, charcoal barbecues are just as dangerous as any outdoor burning.
Man, it sure sounds like it. Did this just come out of nowhere? I know you and I have talked over the years about how these types of inclement weather events show up. Everything is so tinder dry. We have very low humidity. The heat is now here for this week. Did you guys see this a few weeks ago, that this may be a potential right now, or is this kind of did this kind of spring up?
Well, I think probably the meteorologists saw it coming probably maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe even farther out. We were advised about it late last week that we were probably going to have this kind of weather show up. So, excuse me, we were kind of preparing for it late last week. We staffed up for it. We staff up normally for the holiday weekend anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But when we were told that we were going to have a red flag warning event, we staffed up even further. We were staffed up for a couple of our brush rigs and engines to allow for additional engines on the road.
So when you're looking at other fires across the state or regionally where fire agencies from Mason County have gone to help before, do you kind of look at the travel distance on being able to allow the firefighters to go somewhere to help, knowing that they may be called back to help their home area?
Well, we don't look so much at travel distance as we do as at the number of resources we allow out of the area.
Okay.
We've got a strike team that was sent over to the Yakima area last week, and they were demobilized. They were released from that scene on Sunday and were immediately reassigned to another fire in eastern Washington, and that's where they're working now. And then yesterday, when the fire broke out in Thurston County, there was an immediate need for structural protection, and we're already tapped out wildfire-wise because we still have to protect our,
Sure.
We have areas to protect here at home, but we said, look, we can send you a couple rigs, and that's it. And then they went down there, they took care of the immediate problem, and got right back home.
Wow.
But we can send out a few pieces of apparatus and staff at a time, but we still have our homeland to take care of.
When shifting gears just a little bit, actually, before we move on to another subject, the rest of the week into next week looks similar, or are we going to see some breaks in the weather?
Well, it sounds like, just listening to the weather forecast coming in, it sounds like what Spencer was saying, it's going to cool down tomorrow a few degrees, even like 12 degrees. And then I was hearing rumors that we might even have some rain in the forecast first of next week. So anything will help. Obviously, any rain that we get first of next week isn't going to be enough to do anything for the burn ban, but hopefully it'll keep the dust down and give us a little bit of moisture in the ground, but certainly not enough to raise or to lift any burn bans.
So please, folks, be out there and just be cautious with what you're doing. Even like you mentioned, those charcoal barbecues, the wind picks up and that can really cause some issues there. The other note I would like to just ask you about, Friday, tomorrow, is the 19th anniversary of 9/11.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean to you still today, and what are some ways that people, I mean, right now, you would have new recruits that weren't even born when that happened, right? Entering the fire service at 18?
Right. It's, excuse me, for those of us who are still working in the fire service when that happened, it still hits a raw nerve. We think about it every day, and we have to educate our new folks to come in about what happened that day.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear the younger folks talk about, ultimate sacrifice and giving their all. I mean, it's big talk. They talk big, but if you look back in New York City on September 11th, that's exactly what those people did. Is they walked into a building and went up a whole bunch of flights of stairs and never came down.
Yeah.
And those guys probably knew they weren't coming back. So it hits home.
Yeah, it's just another reminder that there are folks like yourself all throughout fire service, law enforcement that put their lives on the line to help protect others. So a big weekend of remembrance. And just thinking back to that, 19 years ago when that happened. Central Mason Fire EMS, also the Shelton Fire Marshal Mike Patti is on right now for our special focus on Shelton, presented by our Community Credit Union. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Jeff. You guys have a great weekend.
You too.